Welcome to the Social Studies class of 7th Standard History Lesson number 1 Sources of Medieval India class part 2. In last class we have seen about the sources and its different types and the importance of sources. So once we recall this concept now, recap sources. Sources has divided into two categories. One is primary sources, another one is secondary sources. Primary sources is also called as archaeological sources. Secondary sources is also called as literary sources. Primary sources. Primary sources consist of inscriptions, monuments and coins. So first topic of primary sources is inscription. Inscription. What is inscription? Inscription is nothing but it's just a writings which engraved on the solid surface. Solid surface. What are the solid surface I said? That is temple wall, stones, everything we call as solid surface. These sources written in what language? Hyperbolic language. Yes. So the inscription, best example they have given us, that is copper plates of Cholas. In later period, that is later Chola period, they have used more copper plates. Another one is stone edicts. Stone edicts, what are the stone edicts they have given? Thiruvalangadu plates. Next one is Anbil plates. Another one is Uttaramerur inscriptions. So these are all the common example for the inscription. So copper plates give importance for both giver and receiver. In the contrast, the inscriptions and stone edicts give more importance for the giver alone. And next one is monuments. What is that? Monuments. Monuments is nothing but we just collectively call these things. What are things? Temple, mosque, tombs, forts, this everything collectively called as the monuments. In last class we have seen lot of example. Can you say one example? Yes. Best example in South India, Tanjai Pragadishwara temple and Gangaikonda Cholapuram, Airavadishwara temple. These are all example for the monuments. In North India we can say Taj Mahal, Red Fort, Kudupinar. Everything is example for the monuments. Today we are going to see about the rest of sources of medieval India. Let me move on to the class now. The next topic is coins. Coins played a major role in the topic of sources, which give more information about the medieval India. So coins conveys the name of the kings and their titles. At the same time, it issues the portraits. Portrait is nothing but the images of the kings and events, places, dates, dynasties and logos. So these all the informations we can get from the coins. Coins also depicts the economic condition of the particular empire. So it depicts what? Economic condition of the particular empire from the coins. And coin also give information about the king's achievements. King's achievements means their military conquest and their expansions and their trade links and religious faith. Everything we can know from the coins. Here we have some example of the coins. First one is Muhammad Ghori's coin. So Muhammad Ghori was a Turkish invader who invaded into India. So in that time he issued the coin with the figure of the goddess Lakshmi. Goddess Lakshmi, you know that she is a Hindu god. So and also he inscribed his name on the coin. So with this we can find these Turkish invaders liberal on the religious outlook. Next one is copper jitals. Jital is nothing. It's just a name of the copper coin during the period of Delhi Sultan. So if we get the copper coin jital, we can get information about the Delhi Sultans. Next one is Tanka. Tanka is a coin which was introduced by the Iltutmish. Next one is gold coin. Gold coin of Alauddin Khilji. And next one is copper token currency of the Muhammad bin Tughlaq. So with these examples, we can know about the coinage as well as the economic condition of the particular empire. So how can we know economic condition? The metal which was used by the empire which depicts the economic condition of the dynasties. So let me see the images of some example of coins now, students.
Look at this picture, students. Here we have two example picture of coins of Muhammad Ghori. See in the second picture. In second picture, he stamped the image of goddess Lakshmi, and next side of this coin he inscribed his name. Why? Because with that we can find who issued this coin. So coin also played a major role to know about the particular empire or dynasties which was issued.
Next topic is secondary sources. Secondary sources also called as literary sources. That is, here all the sources are in the form of written. So written records are available in the secondary sources. In this secondary sources, first we are going to see about the religious literature. Here this literature totally belongs to the religious. So religious based literatures available here in the medieval time. During the time of 6th to 8th century, the devotional movement in South and North India reached its peak. In this time, it paved the way for the rise of the Bhakti literature. So that is called religious literature. In the period of Chola, there was lot of religious works raised. So that Chola period was called as the period of devotional literature. Which period is called as devotional literature? Chola period. Chola period also called as the period of devotional literature. Here some example literary works during the time of Chola period. First one is Kambaramayanam. Kambaramayanam was composed by poet Kambar. Who composed Kambaramayanam? Kambar. Next one is Periya Puranam. Periya Puranam was composed by Sekilar. Who composed the Periya Puranam? Sekilar. Next one is Nalayira Divya Prabandham. What is this? Nalayira Divya Prabandham was composed by 12 Alvars. Alvar people, they were the devotees of Lord Vishnu. They called as Alvars. There were 12 Alvars. In the contrast, there is 63 Nayanmars. They were the devotees of the Lord Shiva. Here, Nalayira Divya Prabandham was composed by the 12 Alvars and which was compiled by the Nadamuni. Who composed the Nalayira Divya Prabandham means you have to say 12 Alvars. If they ask who compiled the Nalayira Divya Prabandham means you have to say the answer Nadamuni, whose name was Nadamuni. Next one is Devaram. Devaram was written by 3 Nayanmars whose name was Appar, Sambandar and Sundarar. These 3 people very important Nayanmars among the 63 Nayanmars. They were just composed the Devaram which was compiled by the Nambiyandar Nambi. Who compiled the Devaram? Nambiyandar Nambi. Who composed the Devaram? These 3 people, Appar, Sambandar and Sundarar. Next one is Tiruvasagam. Tiruvasagam was composed by the Manikavasagar. Who wrote the Tiruvasagam? Manikavasagar. So these are all the example literary works during the time of Chola period. Not only this Chola period people, there were other people also there. First one is Geeta Govindam. The Geeta Govindam was written by Jayadeva. He belongs to the 12th century. And next one is Kabir Das. Kabir Das in the period of 15th century. So these are all the example for the religious literature which gives the brief information about the medieval India. Students, next topic is secular literature. The secular literature is different from the religious literature. How it is different means, religious literature give information about the particular religion, isn't it? But secular literature has no significant base on religion. It does not have any religious based text. It consists of non-religious text. So, the secular literature is different from the religious literature. What is secular literature? Secular literature has no significant base on religion. It consists of non-religious text. Here we have some example for the secular literature. First one is Madhura Vijayam. What is that? Madhura Vijayam was written by Ganga Devi. And next one is Amukta Malyada. What is that? Amukta Malyada was written by Krishna Devaraya. These two books were related to the Vijayanagara Empire. These two books describes the events held in the Vijayanagara Empire. Next one is Prithviraj Raso. Prithviraj Raso was very famous book during the medieval time. So this book was written by Chand Bardai. So Prithviraj Raso was a poem which described the life of Rajput king Prithviraj Chauhan. So Prithviraj Raso book was related to which Rajput king? Prithviraj Chauhan. Chand Bardai was a court poet of Prithviraj Chauhan. So he wrote about the Prithviraj Chauhan's braveness and his achievements in this book. This book was written in the 12th century in the language of Pingal language. Pingal language is a vernacular of the Rajasthan. So Rajput people mostly in the area of Rajasthan, no? So they have written in the language of Pingal language. Next one is Rajatarangini. Rajatarangini was written by the poet Kalhana. He was a court chronicler of the Kashmir. He was a Kashmiri poet. So he written the Rajatarangini in the language of Sanskrit language. This chronicles about the kings of Kashmir. So those who had ruled the area of Kashmir, no? So those kings were briefly described in the Rajatarangini book. This book was written in the 11th century.